Hi, my name is Carl Franklin, and all the code that you see here today will have been generated by a tool. All right, so anyway, I'm going to be talking about RSS, which is Real Simple Syndication. RSS is probably something you already know about if you've ever been to a blog or if you have a blog. It's essentially the way that blog postings are syndicated or consumed by large quantities of people. What I mean by that is, let's say you come to a blog and you want to know about all of the things that are being posted on in a particular category. Let's say it's C# or VB.net. You subscribe to that channel and you get back a URL. If you plug that URL into an RSS reader like Sharp Reader or Feed Daemon or something like that, then this program will automatically go and download those new posts as they become available. So that's the whole idea of syndication. It's called really simple syndication because it's an XML-based protocol, and it's very simple. There are just a few elements to it and a few rules. And you can even generate this stuff, with simple XML text writer if you need to, but there are also some tools out there that do it. Well, anyway, first of all, before I get started, I want to just show you my website here. This is .NET Rocks. This is an internet audio talk show for .NET developers, if you haven't heard about it. And this week is show number 116, I believe, the week of this taping, with 𝘍𝙁𝙬𝙧𝙚𝙬𝙳𝙁. And these are free MP3 interviews that you can just download and go back into the archives, and all of the downloads are right here. We have WMAs and MP3s and all of that kind of stuff. And if you're really savvy, what you can do is subscribe to, with a iPodder or some other kind of aggregation client, you can subscribe to an XML RSS feed, such as this one right here. This is what the RSS looks like. And in this case, we're not just syndicating, text or posts, but we're actually syndicating items. What am I trying to say? MP3 files right here, enclosures. See, this is an item in the list. And this was 𝘍𝙬𝙬𝘧𝙚, his talk, part 1, I guess you could say. Here's the link to the page. And then down here you have this enclosure. And this enclosure is a link to an actual torrent file, which is used to download the MP3. Now, we just use BitTorrent for our RSS feeds. This is called podcasting, this enclosure here. But you don't necessarily have to use BitTorrent. I mean, if you are the content provider, then you can just, have a link to your MP3 files. You don't need to go all the way to use BitTorrent. So this is a typical podcast, and that enclosure makes it a podcast. Podcasting is just using RSS to, instead of download, items from weblogs or text, you're downloading binaries. That's the only difference between a blog and a podcast, is that the podcast includes binaries. So what I'm going to show you today is how to consume this RSS feed very easily in VisualBasic.net, and then how to make some sense out of it. There's another site that I want to show you first, however. Let me bring that up on the web, in the web browser. This is the RSS 2.0 specification, and it's at Harvard. This is where people point to anytime that they want to show you what the spec is. And it's blogs.law.harvard.edu/tech/RSS. And it's a very nice, readable spec. As you can see, it's not very long. What is RSS? Some sample files for different versions of RSS. Something about the document. You've got a list of required channel elements in the document. And let me just summarize what this is saying here. You always have at least one channel element. Actually, you only have one channel element per RSS feed. And in the channel element, that describes what this is. If it's .NET Rocks, if it's my blog, if it's whatever it is, that's what the channel elements has. So it has the title, it has a link, and it has a description. Then there are other optional channel elements like the language, the copyright notice, the managing editor, the webmaster, the pub date, the last build date, category, generator, so a whole bunch of other pieces of meta information. And then there's also an image, which is a link to an image file. I'm going to show you what this looks like. I'm going to show you what it looks like in an RSS reader, and then we'll actually look at the code. Then there's the big item, the big thing that you need to know about is item. An item is a repeatable element, a repeated element for each item in the list. So let's say it's a weblog, each post would be a different item. If it's a podcast like .NET Rocks, each show has a different item. And so you have the title, you have the link, the description. The link is usually to the page, the web page that describes the item. Okay, the description, the author, the category, comments, and the enclosure. This is, again, what makes a podcast, this enclosure tag. And you have a unique ID, a pub date, and then a source channel that it came from. All right, so I'm going to show you a tool called RSS. I'm sorry, I'm not going to show you a tool called RSS. I'm going to show you a tool called SharpReader. This is an RSS aggregator that I use. It's a very simple one. Essentially, what you can do is subscribe to an RSS feed by URL, just by saying open RSS feed. You enter in the URL to it right there. And I've got a whole bunch of them that I've already got. And essentially, you can get the links to RSS feeds at the website itself. And so, here I'll show you the .NET Rocks feed right here and what that looks like. And when I click on one, you can see here's the image and here's the meta information and all that kind of stuff. So that's what it kind of looks like in the RSS reader. So in order to consume this is perhaps the easiest part of all, okay? All we're going to do is we're going to take that URL, use an XML reader, and we're going to use that to return the data into a data set. Check this out. Here's my function. Public function get RSS feed. You pass it a URL, returns a data set. All right, so I'm creating a new data set. I'm creating a reference to a data table that I haven't assigned yet, and I'm also a reference to an XML text reader. I've got in a try catch here the constructor to the XML text reader passing in the URL. That's all I'm doing. Then I say dataset.readXML, and I pass the reader. Now this is where if there's any problems with the XML, you're going to run into trouble. If there are any issues that the XML reader has with the source XML, that's where you're going to know. And then it just returns the data set. So my code here is very simple. I call it get RSS feed, and I bind it through the data source property to a data grid. Watch this. I'm going to actually take the URL to .NET Rocks, which I'll get from right here. And I'll paste that into the text box and say fetch. And as you can see, when I bind to a data set, I get the plus key. So if I expand that, you can see all the different tables. So each part of the RSS document shows up in a different table. And so you have a table for the channel, which tells you about, this channel, what exactly this is. And here's the interesting part, the item table. So I've got I don't have the actual enclosure in here, but there's a link to it. So here's, Brian Randall on Virtual PC, the description, which is, the nice text description, and then a link to it, to the page. And if you click on enclosure, then you actually get the URL to the MP3 or to the, torrent in this case, the length, and then the type. So, with just a few lines of code, you can consume any RSS feed and pull it into .NET. And since it's in a data set, it's already in a format that you're familiar with. And what can I say? It's easy code. RSS is wonderful. It's easy to produce. It's easy to consume. And it makes the world go round. You have a great day. Thank you.